And we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the SEO news for week 8. So that was last week. I've assembled all the news. We're going to discuss them. I've got my co-host Linus and the other co-host Casper. And I am Frederick Drost. We all work at Præcis Digital. Let's get rolling. And there's a big interest in the first one here, which is, can all caps titles increase click-through rate? According to Search Pilot, at least, they did a test. On mobile, it worked. And there was no desktop downside. So should we just do all caps for everyone now? Will it? First of all, if we did that, if everyone followed that rule, it would remove the potency of it. But you had some questions or comments, Casper.
Yeah, I just think first of all, it's interesting, but it must be like case by case. First of all, like it's all about it depends. And like my general assumptions about all caps titles before this case study, was that it would actually have a negative effect due to the perceived what do you say, the perception of all capital letters. Like it looks and sounds like shouting, which at least like my assumption would be that it would have a negative impact on CTR. Like I don't know if this is like, if the whole case study is about how it takes up more pixels or something like that on a mobile, and that might be one of the reasoning. I haven't really looked into that.
It's well, it does. I can look at the. I'm looking at the very now. If you follow the link, so they had this. It's fly fast airlines, affordable flights. Yelling. It takes up more space in both directions, but specifically on width. And and it just sticks out. My eyes immediately go to it. I think it's more of a psychology thing. Again, I think what we can take away from this is maybe test it, and maybe for clients that are not serious, maybe for, again, what does a non-serious client mean? I really, our website. If you're selling fun, like active products or something like that, sport, I don't know. But if we're in a scientific area, maybe it's not the best. But also, maybe, we will put like a first, here it's Fly Fast Airlines, maybe put that in. Or affordable tickets, like try and vary it a little bit. I think there's variations here, and I love to test these, but it really depends on how you want to be perceived and stuff like that. But it could be a fun test. So just now we have some numbers on that.
I'm also a bit curious if you can see like all caps written meta titles and meta descriptions being rewritten more by Google, because we've seen a tendency of Google rewriting descriptions and titles, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if like, I would like to see a test at least on that, and seeing if those get rewritten a bit more. Like if
they I don't know if I think that depends on the query, etc. I think it's more of a contextual thing. It would be fun if it rewrote it but kept the all caps. Like we get you, we know what you want. I'll see what clients we have that we might be able to test this on. Probably anyone ranking top 5, that would be interesting to check. The next one here is navigating agentic AI in the world of SEO, which is kind of a nascent concept, agentic AI. But the article is pretty good, and they talk about. I think last week we talked about the LLM text file that we could put up and things like that. It's very text heavy. I'm showing it to people watching the video now. It's really, really heavy. I think just have a good read at this, because I think we're getting into an era where this is happening more and more. We're not going to be replaced by agents yet. Don't worry. They lack a lot of context, but still very interesting. Any thoughts on this?
I think it's generally like structured data and the importance of that. We've seen that for quite some time, that it's getting more and more important. And I think like our main recommendations is give as much information to Google and search engines as possible through structured data and schema markup. So it kind of goes into that.
Yep. Yeah. We'd have a bunch of like analysis looking at the correlation between structured data and AI overviews as well. They don't really render. So if they get any good information from structured data, they might just use it. Next up, a little tool here, quite a good SEO page analysis Bookmarklet script. So finally a Bookmarklet script, not a plugin for Chrome. Now plugins can lower your, it can affect load times for all the websites you visit, etc. There's a bunch of things there. I'm going to show people who are watching this video, because I have it. So basically, you kind of follow the guide on when you follow the link, and you get like a little bookmark. You just press it, and it gives you all the content audit, all this stuff. And yeah, so it only loads the script when you actually press it, so it actually doesn't interfere with anything. So pretty good, I would say. It's a pretty good tool. Have a look at it. I included it anyway. And next up, e-commerce. I put this as must read. So the importance of store and product reviews and how they influence SEO visibility. I have just, I kind of read through this, and the things that stood out to me was the including authoritative external review sources, Trustpilot, Google reviews via the same as markup reinforces credibility and transparency. So having your own on-site, but then also same as, using the same as in structured data with Trustpilot and Google reviews. I don't see anyone doing that. I don't think that's something we recommended. So I think that's kind of a win as a learning. But any other, like the store reviews is something that only the US has, right?
I'm a bit unsure. I think you have a story, like the store rating is set up for some of our Nordic clients as well. So it should show up for product listings if it's a part of the Merchant Center scorecard. But I'm a bit unsure. But I know I've looked into that for a few clients and seen that like the store rating is either bad or it's good.
Sell a good, get a good rating that's the recommendation.
But I think the most interesting stuff about this, like SEO is becoming more and more like proper marketing, like stuck to real values, like especially with product listings then.
Yeah.
And if you want to buy a product and you have a set of stores available, then you'll always choose the store with the best rating if all things else are equal. So this just hammers that home more.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a like process set up for gathering reviews, then I think that's the biggest like learning from this.
Yeah.
Like set that up.
Yeah. Entice people to review as well. Get them like 5% discount if you actually do a review of the product you bought. Like there's a bunch of ways to get things rolling. So yeah, if you're in e-commerce, great. That's a great learning, Linus. Yeah, simply have that in mind. Have Merchant Center up running as well. All these sorts of things is important. And Google is trying to keep you in that ecosystem by also utilizing these. And just wanted to mention that there is that weird psychological factor where people trust score ratings that are just not perfect. Like if it's 5 out of 5 and you have 10, people rather have more reviews, but then it's a 4.5. You're like, okay, that seems realistic, right? Like so I don't know if you can control that, but that's interesting as well. As the number counts as well, not just the rating. Next, we have a small little good one here. Google says URLs with hashtags in Search Console are okay. Great. Let's move on. For anyone listening or watching, hashtag in URL, it's called an ID fragment identifier. And it's used if you're on a page and you've got table of contents. You can go to the part of the section you want by including those IDs in the title element of the HTML. So really useful for that. I've seen Google put those in on my own website. Like it'll put them in as like site links, but like the small site links next to each other. So I think it helps Google understand what do you want the users to go to quickly and identify, and it'll actually add them there. So that's how they appear in Search Console is what I've seen, and people freak out over them, but because they look like they have a low click-through rate. So that's just Search Console being not that granular after all. Latest AI overview study every week. There's the latest AI overview study. I love it. It's great. I'm going to try and do an average of all of them. Maybe that would be fun. One thing that stood out for me again, keyword length, long tail keywords dominate. It feels like whatever like question-based queries come up a lot. I feel like all these numbers kind of vary because it's such a new product and it's volatile, but long tail seems to still be dominating AI overviews. And I think I want to discuss how that ties into strategies with long tail keywords, talking about like, let's say, we talk a lot with single brands. When you're just a single brand, but you have a large product selection, my first go-to is long tail. That's how we beat the big e-commerces. It's like really narrowing down focused landing pages. And by doing that, we might actually also appear more in AI overviews. So like kind of, I was going to say 2 birds, 1 stone. Yeah, that's an expression. Any thoughts on that?
I think it makes sense. Like it also makes sense with what we see in like other LLMs as well, and how the search behavior is in that in those. Like it's longer questions, and I think it's also ties a little bit back to how Google have had more difficulties answering the search intent of long tail keywords rather, or like in that sense in back in the day, right? So it kind of, the AI overviews kind of help with answering some of the more, what do you want to say, like difficult questions that are in there.
Yeah, but
that requires a longer answer in general.
Yes. Yeah, and again, one thing I want to highlight is the SEO fundamentals. Google rely heavily on the established ranking algorithms for this. So, working with SEO will get you an AI overviews as well. But I think the way we then work with content is like, okay, we can work more on long tail for informational content, because we actually can start getting featured in the top suddenly. Even though we might have a normal ranking of 1 to 10, or maybe in the bottom page 1, we start getting cited there suddenly. So narrowing down those focuses for informational content and products, I think is the way to go. So it just kind of guides us in a different direction a bit.
Yeah, I think also keeping in mind, like, it just takes us one step before in the like search journey, or whatever you want to call it. Like, you don't only need to think about being relevant enough, like rather you kind of need to be hyper relevant now instead. Really have that in mind.
If Google had this really awesome independent AI overviews function that kind of scraped the index and did some cool stuff by its own, but it feels like it's just relying too much on Google itself. So it's just kind of an ad. It's like this, it's a cheap ad. Like, it feels like makeup, right? That you don't need because you're already kind of beautiful. That's really what it feels like. I'm not saying Google is super pretty, 10 out of 10, because that's totally not the case. It is not a good search engine right now, it feels like, but you get my point. Hopefully. Yeah,
your point. Google doesn't need makeup.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. That's the problem. It's just slapped on like, oh, we have AI now. It's those rushed. Everyone wants the AI race. They want to show that they have AI, but they rushed all these things out. And actually, we have proof of that. Looking at the older news, there was basic statements from people who left Google saying we just rushed it. It was like, it has AI on it. Let's rush it out quickly. So great. Here's a really good guide on 24 digital PR examples and strategies that work today. Not tomorrow, not yesterday, but today. I have done a lot of this. I don't know if you guys looked at it. Maybe we should just skip this one. I have a bunch in my head as well from my older days. So yeah, I'm just kind of skimmed over it, and it looked pretty good. And BuzzStream is quite a good tool as well. This one, ooh mama, Google seems to deprioritize AI-generated images in search. What do you say to that? Is that the start, the beginning of something here? I feel like if we're just using stock photos versus AI-generated images, why would AI lose? Stock photos are pretty much that. Everyone can use them. At least they're unique. And if you have good prompts, they might be even better, especially when it's just filler images. However, I do tell clients, your own pictures are the best. Your own graphics explaining concepts, the best. Like, if you have a complex topic and you have graphics to explain it that you made, perfection. That's like top level. But yeah, any thoughts on this and how maybe it relates to AI content? Moving on.
I agree with what you say with like stock photos and AI generated photos and that point. But I also think it makes a lot of sense with the direction that Google has tried to go with EAT. I like trustworthiness and experience, especially. If you have a travel guide, for instance, you don't want to see an AI generated image of a capital city that you're writing about or something, or a country that you're writing about. You want to see an actual photo of that, of that city or that country, right? So it kind of makes sense. Again, like my other comment, it depends. It's really case by case, because I think in some industries it shouldn't be deprioritized, and I'm not sure it does.
Yeah, but is Google smart enough to actually do that? Or
that's the thing.
Yeah, it's my question here is because Google can identify them, but then it has to relate them to industries and how they work. And I think that's the danger here is Google is rushing out these other things too.
Definitely, but I think it's also for your question before, if we're looking into something is happening here on the AI, like I think that's the direction that they want to go. Again, like with search engine, with like industry based here, they want to make sure that for some industries where it doesn't make sense to AI generate some images, it's not like it's just that's kind of, you know,
Yeah.
taking the short
Yeah.
what's it called, taking the short trail. I don't know. Yeah.
If you're a shortcut, if you're like a
Shortcut,
news,
yeah.
if you rely on putting a lot of content out for news and getting discover traffic and new Google News, then I think AI images might be a good place, because they rely less on the actual search rankings. So again, by industry, by case, as with everything in SEO, it depends.
Yeah, it really depends. But like again, if you want to visualize something, if you want to show something that's visual, like a again, coming back to the travel guide, if you want to show that, it doesn't make sense to AI generate an image, right? It makes sense to take an actual image of the place.
Yeah. Might
At
also
least
just
my
show
opinion.
laziness. It just show laziness, and maybe that's also a
Yeah.
good sign that this is not good content. We'll see.
I mean, the quality among AI images also differs a lot. Like if I see something that's boilerplate AI image, I'd be more disappointed than if I saw a stock photo. I think that's something to take into account as well. And I also think in the article they do say that not at all, like some website owners also wrote that they did not see any downturn.
Yeah.
Which basically this kind of also tells me like, A, it's either industry dependent, like you guys discuss, or it's B, the ones that are losing a lot of like ranking / traffic are just using boilerplate AI imagery, and then for my end, they can lose the traffic.
Well, they might, if they do that for images, they might also do that for the rest. And so there's a correlation, like people who eat a lot of meat have cancer, but they also tend to smoke. So, you know, there's a correlation and a causation. But we'll be watching this. Will be a recommended, like we tend on the white hat safe side here. So we'll try and recommend for our clients at least to be careful here. Okay, we have 10 minutes left here. Let's try and run through the rest here. 17 tips to prepare for the future of SEO by Lily Ray. I highlighted a few things: avoiding overly aggressive SEO, prepare for search GPT and AI tools, and quality over quantity. And this is very much Lily Ray's, like she's very much a defender of this, like let's not just rush AI content out. She keeps publishing websites that do that and then crash. And she criticizes Google heavily. And I like her for that. So I think this is very much how at least we are doing it at Precis. And anyone not doing that, if you're not part of, if you don't have Precis as a client, and you're using another agency and they're telling you to be spitting out a bunch of stuff, and just be careful. Maybe move over to us. I think it's a long-term game here, SEO. And we can't win tomorrow. Usually, if you win tomorrow, you lose later. Alrighty. AI overviews are very volatile, and there's an analysis that proves it here. Again, I include these if people are talking with clients or other people at work and just kind of wondering what's going on. It's always good to have analysis showing the volatility of AI overviews. So still seems like a nascent product. Google's testing a lot of things. Yeah. Also, a really good post here on pitches and why they fail. And I just kind of read that and liked it. And again, in terms of time here, we don't have too much, so I don't want to go too much into detail. But it's a lot about like what we're actually promising in pitches. So again, if I learned like 4 years ago, if an SEO person guarantees you any spots in Google or traffic from search, fire him or don't hire him. He's lying. He's not. He doesn't know what he's doing. That we can't guarantee anything. We're at the mercy of Google, pretty much, and how good they are. We can only rely on what we know. So yeah, I think that's maybe a good lesson for anyone else listening. Does audio versions of blog posts help with rankings? Seems like no, but transcript of videos does help. So that was an interesting little insight there. Kind of like that. Yeah, and transcripts, YouTube does them now. Other tools does them. So yeah, interesting if you have a lot of videos that you host or post on your own pages. Which is the video thing is like, okay, we have YouTube, but if you actually own them on your website, that's almost like a little niche area of SEO that I think we've covered, not in the videos, but in our news in general internally. Oh, also this one. Wow. Yeah. People have talked about making Google worse for profits. And here's a stronger case. I saw just this from Cyrus Shepard, but he's mentioning Wallet Hub, and they're making a pretty strong case. The guy that they fired the guy that was head of search for Google, who was deemed the guy who ruined Google, and they actually replaced him. That was pretty far back now, I think 6 months or something. So Google might have done something already about this, but still interesting. What do you guys think? Is Google really making it worse for profit? People might choose ads more over organic search. Could that be it? Like,
100%.
okay,
I would do it. Of course. I mean, it's just good business. It's this thing like with the fashion industry or like materials. I know this is hearsay, but someone like on like the best kind of material to make clothing from, I think in the 50s, but it doesn't, or it's light bulbs actually. Light bulbs in the 1920s were way better than they are now, and then all the light bulb companies went together and decided we'll not use light bulbs that are this good because they hurt profits too much.
Yeah,
and I think that it's the same across all business. Some obsolescence will always be good. Yeah. I'm sure Google thinks the same way. Nothing can be too good.
Yeah, again, especially since if people have really good results under the ads, they click less on the ads, which is kind of the revenue pattern here. So even though Google broke their ad revenue record, the all-time record this year, but they were also pretty bad results. So maybe there is a correlation too there. All I'm saying is, yeah, I think I agree with you. It makes sense. I'm not a big conspiracy guy. I think they might tweak it, but they now have to maybe rethink that strategy because SearchGPT and all these other tools are coming in, and they're actually good, some of them. So maybe you're gonna lose your user base if you keep doing too much of that. I think it's a fine line between how shit Google can be before they lose money.
100%.
I'd hate to work at Google. the math they have to do. All right, for the sake of time here, we're moving on. Google Business Profile had some errors, 500 errors. There's also been some review errors and stuff. So something with local is going on. Google is messing up somehow. So yeah, if you're seeing any weird things with Google Business Profile listings, reviews, it could be it. The reviews seems to be all back now. Something we covered last week, I think. Also, a really cool index tracking here where we can start. I'm going to show people who are watching the video. So somebody built a really cool tracking to actually, I'm going to mention him, Viper Chill. Yeah, like a top level like sites and per industry, and you can actually see their scores. And he's doing research from SimilarWeb, SEMrush, and Ahrefs combined. So really good for top level views, brands, best software, stock market, travel. Yeah, just a really good dashboard here if you want like really top level insights. Then we have Aleda, who is very much into right now is optimizing brand visibility and how it relates to AI, like getting mentions, etc. And these two kind of correlate here. That's the last two ones. I think here, for example, the last one they talk about how brand mentions is much as important as links used to be for AI visibility. I think links still worth it because that's a mention. And we would like a mention and a link, but brand mention should literally be counted. I remember back in the old days of link building was like, if we had a brand mention, no, let's get a link. Brand mention sucks. And now that's definitely shifting, honestly. So yeah, all these, again, I think it's because of AI, we're becoming more holistic in our approach to SEO than we've ever been, which I like. SEO ties so much more into like top level e-commerce management and marketing than paid activities do, I feel now, because we're actually going into branding, we're going into so many things, development, user experience. So SEO is such an interesting area to be in compared to paid. No offense to my colleagues. That's just how I see it. They might be seeing
all offense to our colleagues.
Yeah, they might be listening. It spans more like I'd rather hire an SEO person as an e-commerce head than a paid specialist, purely because of those reasons. But yeah, any thoughts on this?
I think it's interesting. I've had some discussions with some clients that does link building and outreach especially, and they've come back to me and said that it's not as easy as you say it is, because all of the writers, they want money for a link now, and this kind of eliminates that because you can't really write an article without mentioning at least the source of it, right? But you can without actually linking. And now brand mention is just as important. So hopefully this makes outreach a little bit easier on that, but and cheaper.
Outreach. Yeah, quid pro quo. I usually just a good tip. Find the tip of the day for outreaching. Just run some tools quickly on the website you're targeting. Find all the broken links and send them. Hey, here you got a bunch of broken links. They feel obliged to respond back with the link for you. Like, thank you, you did help me here. That's pretty cool. And there's tools that can do that very quickly. So, tip of the day.
Good tip.
Good tip. All right, we're out of time. Thank you guys for joining. It's been wonderful. If you like this, like and subscribe. If you're listening, subscribe, follow. I don't know what you do on Spotify, honestly. There's podcast version as well. And I will see you next week. Ciao.